Are we in focus? We good? I think we could. Hello, we are back today to talk about my favourite thing to talk about, and that is, as you can see from the title of this video, my top 10 songs from Eurovision 2021. So I have made one of these videos before, all the way back in 2019, and I really do not recommend watching it because it was the first time I'd ever really spoken in front of a camera. I was really like shy and nervous, and it's just a whole mess. I'll link it if you want to see what my top 10 was that year, but yeah, honestly, save yourself the embarrassment. I had originally intended to make one of these videos again last year, but by the time I got around to doing it, obviously the contest was cancelled, so it kind of just seemed a little bit redundant to do that. But we're back for 2021, and we're back to see what my favourite songs are. I really enjoy a lot of the songs this year, so it's kind of hard to get a top 10. I think my top 10 are like my top 10, but as per usual, there's a lot of room for manoeuvring. My number 1 is solidly my number 1, but everything else kind of moves on a regular basis. But I've kind of put off making this video for a little bit just so that I can solidify that this is in fact my top 10. But having said that, there is a very high chance that that will change by the time we get to the live shows. So really this video is probably also redundant, but here we are. We've got all the songs minus Belarus. We have all the songs, and yeah, time for my top 10. I was about to say my top 39. I do not have a top 39. Everything just changes way too much. So top 10 it is. I have my little scoreboard app here, so everything will be on there. That's why I'm on my phone if you're wondering. So my number 10 is Norway's Tix with Fallen Angel. So I obviously love Canto, and Spirit in the Sky was in my top 10 in 2019, but I still like this one, and I feel like I don't like to follow national finals because then I get attached to songs, and I feel like that gives me negative vibes towards the songs that win instead of the one I wanted to win, if that makes sense. So I try to not follow national finals for that reason, so I have a more like non-biased opinion of the songs when they're released. But yeah, that being said, I obviously listened to Monument a lot in the build-up, but then when I found out Tix was doing it, I was like raised on Scum, so I love Scum, so I unironically would be dancing around my room to Shake in 2015, no matter how bad a song that is. It still pops, okay. And yes, the song is generic, yes, the song is fairly like standard, run-of-the-mill stuff, but I find it stuck in my head a lot, and I just really like the message, and I really like the journey that Tix has gone on as an artist. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I really can't justify that pick. Okay, so number 9 then is Czech Republic's Cristo with Omaga. This song bombs so hard. I think I listened to it the first time and I wasn't really a fan because I'm generally not a big fan of like upbeat songs when it comes to Eurovision. You'll kind of see the trend when we get up higher in my tops of what my top songs are, but this one is just so good. I just like am constantly listening to it and I'm like, oh my god, you're so beautiful. It gives me similar vibes to like Look at Honey and She Got Me, kind of, but a lot better. It's a better song. And I can really see this doing well actually. I feel like it's just very non-offensive. It's just a really nice little pop song to bop to, and that's really all you want, right? I wasn't a huge fan of Kimama last year, like I liked it, but again it bopped too hard for me. This one bops just the right amount. Coming in at number 8 is the Netherlands and Jeangu Macrooy with Birth of a New Age. What I love about Jeangu's music both this year and last year is how he like uses the whole 3 minutes. I feel like with this and Grow, like they both start off so differently from the end because there's been like so much like growth added throughout the song that you don't notice at the time, but then you get to the end and you're like, yes, this is an absolute anthem, and this is exactly the same, and I get the exact same vibes I get from Grow that I get to this. I think I prefer to Grow a little bit more, but I still really love this. I love how he's incorporating his Surinamese culture into it as well, and it's just such a good track. Like it's one of the ones I always, when it starts and it's like, what is this song? And I'm like, oh yes, this is this song, because I'm so used to like the end of it, if that makes sense. I just really love it. I'm talking nonsense now. So when I said I like the generic songs, I really wasn't kidding, because my number 6 is Sweden's Tusse with Voices. And again, I didn't follow Melfest, I kind of just followed from what other people were saying, but I did watch the final. So going into the final, I think I had Daughter as my favourite, but having watched it, I am so happy that Tusse won with Voices. I think it's such a good Eurovision track. It gives me a lot of, obviously, Polina Gagarina and Million Voices vibes, which I also love, so I can see it doing really well. It's not like anything like special from Sweden, it's kind of just very generic, but it's a really good tune, and I think that's what we do expect from Sweden, but they've just not really taken as much of a risk this year as they usually do by sending something like contemporary poppy. It's just fairly like a good generic Eurovision song, but it is a good generic Eurovision song, if that makes sense, and I just really enjoy it. So at number 6 I have Bulgaria's Victoria with Growing Up Is Getting Old. I actually voted in this national selection. I spent this whole time saying I don't watch national selections, but Victoria's music is very much the kind of music that I listen to on the regular when it's not Eurovision season, you know, so I was very excited to hear the tracks that she was offering, and Growing Up Is Getting Old was one of my favourite ones. I really liked it, and the Funeral Song were my 2 favourites, so I'm really glad that it won. I just think it's such a different vibe for Eurovision. I'm not sure how well it'll do, but it's definitely like my kind of music, and I have a playlist called Sad Girl Bops, and this fits perfectly into the Sad Girl Bops playlist. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is just my kind of music. I just really love it. I think it's such a nice story, it's such a nice song, it's just so pretty, and I'm sure Victoria will sing it so well in Eurovision, and I'm very excited for it. So now we are at the halfway mark, and coming in at song 5 is Daði og Gagnamagnið and 10 Years. I'm actually in the choir for this song, so I feel like that makes me slightly biased, but Think About Things was my top song last year. While I do love this one too, I just feel like Think About Things had that like cultural impact, you know, but I still think this might win. I still have high hopes for it, and it's just so exciting to get to say that you're on a Eurovision track. And yeah, and in the words of Daði Freyr in this song, how does it keep getting better? It just keeps getting better, you know. I feel like I started off, the first time I listened to this, it was like, it was okay, it was like, I don't know, but then the more you listen to it, the more it bops and it slaps, and it's just great. And it's true Daði fashion. UK will love this, by the way. We've already had him on our radio more than we've had our own act on the radio, so that tells you a lot about how we view Eurovision in our country, but it's a whole other video. Now we get to the portion of the video where I really say big 5 rights, because in 4th place I have Italy's Måneskin with Zitti and Buoni. Again, I didn't follow Sanremo. I never really follow Sanremo. I watch it on the final, but there's just so much going on that I haven't got time to catch up on all the songs. I listen to the acts I've heard of, and then I watched a little bit of the final, so I'd actually heard Måneskin in the final, and I loved it so much. I was really excited when I found out they won. This is super different for Italy, super different for Eurovision. By the way, if you don't know, I'm such an Italy stan. Il Volo are like the reason I love Eurovision, and Italy just are in my top 10 every year, so this is not a surprise to anybody that they are in 4th place. Even though it's like a completely different vibe for them, it's still quintessential Italy, it's still such a good track, and it's definitely going to do well. My number 3 is Spain's Blas Canto with Voila Quedarme. Now, let me just explain. I know in my heart that this song will finish in last place. I just know it, but that doesn't mean I do not love it. I am such a sucker for a male power ballad, and especially if it's a male power ballad in Spanish. It's just like, it touches me in a special place, and it's probably from my love of musical theatre and musical theatre singers. I just adore this song so much. It just came on the first time I listened to it, I was like, my freaking heart, it is so cute. I just love it so much. And yes, it is probably going to come last, but that does not mean that I love it any less. I didn't even like Universo last year. This is the thing. He's just come from nowhere and snatched me with this song that just is so beautiful, and I just love it so much. I have nothing else to say. Okay, so now we're in business, and I did tell you I said big five rights, right? Number 2 is France, Barbara Pravi with Voila. So this song has the advantage of being released early in the season, so it was my early favourite, and so everything else kind of has the goal of reaching that standard, and I feel like nothing else really did until song number 1, which you've gotta keep waiting for. But yeah, I just love that it's so quintessentially French and like Parisian, and it just feels like France in a song, you know, like the complete opposite of last year, which in fairness I did love Tom Leeb and I did like enjoy that song, but just not a patch on Voila. Voila, I think if it's staged well, could be incredible, and I'm just excited to see what they do with it. But again, it's France, it could come last, you never know. And now finally, song number 1, the one you've all been waiting for, and it is so much my number 1 that nothing else in this list even comes close. I've said that everything else can kind of like move around, nothing is touching my number 1 position, and my number 1 position goes to Switzerland's John's Tears with Tout l'univers. This was literally my reaction the first time I heard it. I could not get over it. It blew my tiny little mind. I enjoyed Répondez Moi last year. I think it was my 3rd in the end, but oh my word, honestly you guys, this song killed me off. I was like in work at the time, I work from home, but it's just like I had my laptop open, and then when the countdown started I was like, ooh, it's time, and it started, and like the second he sang I was like yes, and then when it got to like the halfway mark and the drums kicked in and the synth kicked in, I was like, honestly I could not get over it. I love it so much, and it's 100% winter vibes for me. I got winter vibes straight away, and I listened to it on repeat. I've listened to it way too many times. It reminds me a lot, actually, this is really random, it reminds me a lot of Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. I know they're super different, but I think they have a kind of a similar style. I tried to mix them together. I am not a sound engineer, did not work at all, but they remind me of each other in some strange way, and I feel like that's a good thing considering how big Driver's License is right now, you know? But yeah, big John's Tears fan. I feel like that was just such a ramble. Yes, that is my top 10. As I mentioned, I do generally love most of the songs this year, so it was quite hard to narrow it down to 10, but let me know your top 10 below and if we share any, and who you think is going to win in Rotterdam this year. Siamo fuori di testa, deve essere loro. Siamo fuori di testa, deve essere loro. Siamo fuori di testa,